In this lesson, I'm going to discuss and demonstrate the concept of for loop in Java. So a for loop is simply a repetition control structure that allows you to efficiently write a loop that needs to execute, let's say, a specific number of times. So a for loop is useful when you know how many times a task is to be repeated. And it contains primarily three broad elements. The first is the initialization aspect of our code, and this step simply allows you to declare and initialize any loop control variable. The second phase is the Boolean expression, and this is where the expression is evaluated. So for example, if it is true, the body of the loop is executed. If it is false, the body of the loop will not be executed and control jumps to the next statement. And after the body of the for loop, for example, is executed, the control jumps back to the update statement. And this statement allows you to update any loop control variables. So for instance, we can have something like increment or decrement values, and we can tell Java that we need the loop to run in ascending or descending order, for instance. So let's jump right in. Let me next demonstrate using our Eclipse editor how the for loop actually looks like. So here's the Java Eclipse editor. So let me go ahead and simply right click on the Java introduction, and this is the folder that we've been using all along so far. Just go up to new and click on class. I'm going to call this for loop and click finish. And this creates our public class called for loop. So right after the curly braces on my next line, I'm going to set some properties quickly. So this will be public, static, void, and then my string, and then the command line argument. Here's my other curly braces. And then of course I need to provide the for loop here. So for instance, I'm going to say something like for integer I equals, let's say, 10, and then specify the conditions such as I is greater than 1. I would like Java to decrement the value, so just place two negative signs, close the parentheses, and then do the printout as well. So let's do another curly braces. Let's do the system.out.print, and within the parentheses I'm going to say something like the value of I is, and then use the variable which is plus I. Put a semicolon. Okay, let me just quickly fix the syntax up here right after the void. Forgot the main. And now our for loop is complete. So a very simple example of for loop. What's important is as follows. So this is where we initialize our variable and we declare the variable. Then we set our Boolean expression, which is I is greater than 1. And then our increment or decrement. Remember three elements that we talked about in the for loop? It's a specified range, right? So we're telling and specifying the range up to the value of 10. And then finally, we're doing just the printout. So the value here, for example, fix the spelling here quickly, of I is plus 1. So what do you think the output would be in this instance? Well, based on the simple logic here, it's going to print the value of 10 and then decrement, right? In other words, in descending order. So it'll be 10, 9, 8, 7, and so on. And of course, the print is going to say the value of I is 10, the value of I is 9, and so on. So let's go ahead and execute this. Let me click on the Run tool on the toolbar here. And this will bring up the Save and Launch dialog box. Simply click OK. And notice it says the value of I is 10, the value of I is 9, the value of I is 8, 7, and so on. And of course, the reason why we see the output in the console area as in one line is because we did not specify or told Java to print on a new line. So if I were to, for example, go up here and add another line, just do the system out print in a new line, okay? And rerun the code, click OK, and this time you'll notice below it's going to say the value of I is 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, and so on. So this way, a for loop simply iterates until the given condition is met and the range is completed. And of course, I can always change the condition, right? If I like, for example, to say something like for I and t, and instead of 10, I'm going to say my variable value is 1. And here, instead of greater than, I'm going to say I is less than, let's say, 11. And then for the decrement, instead of the decrement, I'm going to use the positive signs or 2 plus signs after the integer. So let's go ahead and delete and make sure our code is fixed up. Great. So now, simply changing the values, I've changed the value for the variable. So the value of the variable is 1. And I'm telling Java that, hey, take the I, which is the variable. As long as this is less than 11, print out the values. So let me go ahead and run this so you can see the output. Click OK. And in this instance, notice it will increase the values, right? So the value of I is 1, the value of I is 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on. So this way, you can practice creating a simple loop, and the more you do it, the easier it'll become. So hope this helps. Practice, and let's move to the next lesson.